So I don't like to call it productivity hacks because I'm not about hacks, but let's straight it out. So I'd like to cover a few things. My life is now, for the last 10 years, been devoted to sharing productivity techniques because there's actually nearly no education about this. So it's like, good luck. That's all you can do. So I'm trying to gather as many things that work, because once you get into productivity space, you know that there's a big gap between what you read and then the practice. And this gap struck me like 10 years ago, and I devoted last 10 years to study with the probably smartest minds. Yeah, so let's talk about managers' productivity, what actually productivity is. Once you define this, it may change a bit the way you look at it. Let's talk about the crucial skill most of you have, which is time travel, which is crucial for good time management. And then things about finding balance. Of course, I'd like to finish with some practical steps, so things you can do. But I think for me, the most important thing will be Q&A, because we could talk for 2 weeks and still not cover everything. So I pop a few ideas, maybe some reflections into your space, and then treat me as a guy who last 10 years spent with people from Google, Hitachi, small companies, big companies, and just we share ideas, what actually works. Not as like you read deep work book, which sounds good, you read 300 pages and then you try to put it in practice and it breaks in 10 minutes. So like what actually you can use in practice, that's what interests me most. So waiting for Q&A. So managers' productivity. When I talk with managers, usually that's the case, that we want actually very basic things, like the feeling I'm pushing something forward that it's actually excites me. Like I see you guys spending their free time and talking about this, It's exciting to be in, like, I don't know, quantum area or other areas as well. By the way, I'm the millennial one. So being appreciated and actually leaving work. So it has some boundaries that you just leave work and you leave work. That's growing problems. And actually most of this is about how you feel more than what you do. So not many books about productivity talk about how you feel. It's about like techniques or apps or some tweaks and hacks. And maybe it's more about that we're humans. So what do we usually have? It's a constant change, constant shift. Being caught, especially those of you who are like, these are the regular workers, and then there's like very abstract people, these need details, and these are very abstract, and you have to translate back and forth between these layers. So that's usually squeezed between these two. There's like unclear boundaries and expectations, information overload, emotional whirlwind. Actually, it would be much easier. Like most of productivity problems are because we're humans. That's actually what I found, that you feel something. This is the problem. If you didn't have any feelings, that would be much easier. And some neuroatypical people know this. Actually, the most successful managers in the world are neuroatypical. They feel a bit less. And that helps them make decisions and keep calm mind. But let's leave that for maybe the end. Your answers from the survey. What are your problems? Prioritizing tasks, managing competing priorities. Silo mentality, mindset, culture change. Productivity problems, actually. AI won't have this problem. Like silo mentality. No, it's mine. It's my department. Resistance to digitization and use of AI. And the other says, but also AI misuse. So it's like conflicting departments. Context switching, distractions with less important topics. That's probably 90% what I hear from people. And the one that actually made me laugh was balancing meetings and real work. That's a good one. So, it tells a story. So last 10 years, I've been first 8 years Produktywni, which is like Polish brand. I did of trainings, and then last year I switched to brand Productivity by heart. I'll probably be more opening to English speaking next year. But also, as Rafał said, I'm playing. If you meet me on stage, that's still me. Sometimes people don't recognize me and say, I've been to a training, a guy so similar to you. It does something to them that somehow I want to connect these two words of the thing that you want to organize, and it's very structural, and at the same time don't lose the thing that you feel something. And it's, if you do any art, it's about this intuitive stuff that you cannot sometimes translate to any specific structure. So how we do one thing without losing the other. Like most of the stuff that I read for time management is for robots, it's not for humans. So what is actually productivity? That struck me. I think I got this question. I work mostly with engineers, and they are like hardcore definition stuff guys. So let's define this. Productivity by definition is value divided by effort. So I love this equation because it's like years of thinking just about this simple thing. Like, what is the value of this meeting? Why did you come here? Like, if the value is the networking, I'm disturbing you now because you should. But you have just a break. You'll have another break. At this moment, I would do this 2-minute exercise. So you share, and you meet some new person. But we already did this. So maybe you're just waiting for the break, and I'm just, taking your time. And actually, what is the effort? What is effort? Effort can be my energy. It can be my time, but it can also be my money. And sometimes I can change one to the other. Like, I don't want to clean my windows at house. That would take my time and effort and energy. So I pay to get it done. And value, what's value? It's a value of one day is a completely different thing than value of 1 year. It's a shift in what actually matters. So I love that. I love coming back to this. What is a productive meeting? What is a productive, sleep? I don't know. Maybe let's come back to this. It's especially important because there's a Pareto principle that says 20% of the effort will give you 80% results. The same with the presentation here now. So probably like 5 minutes of what I say will get 80% for you. And I hope it's just different 80% for each of you. Maybe just one slide, one thought that you're going to take out of it. And that's for me the key thing, because we lived in 21st century, and that means you always have more to do than you can do. 30 years ago, people had this, that, okay, I did everything, and now I can leave back home. This time is over. Now there will always be more to do that you can do. So the problem is now the opposite, which is what is the most important, and how to get my focus on what the most important, not how to do everything. What to do everything is a 30-year-old mentality. I don't know, maybe you had paper encyclopedia at home when I'm a millennial, so I had this. So imagine this now. It's like the knowledge was limited. Everything, we collected this, and now the problem is reversed. There's too much information. It's the first time in the history of this planet that we have some problems reversed, and our brain doesn't have a simple solution to this. So the productivity question is how to not expend the same energy twice. Like if you're opening your email inbox and you see the same message again, and you still have to make another decision, the same decision about the same email, you're losing the same energy twice. And so collecting techniques that allow you to not spend the same energy twice. So maybe just, if you want to simple things for Q&A, there will be tons of questions that we could talk about. I just show you one simple thing that I believe is a game changer in 21st century. Short automations. I try to show you one. So this is a locked iPhone. There's a simple button here. I press this. Hey, I'm on a conference now, and please work because I have to show something to people. Imagine that I'm between meetings, and I have some important note to make, but I cannot open my computer. And when I unlock the screen, it will show me 40 notifications, so I don't want to see it. Okay? I run for another meeting. So what happened with that note? Anybody uses shortcuts, automate, make, Zapier, any of this? So you can do that probably in 20 minutes. Let's see if this works. So this is my task list for the day. On top of that, there's a new note. The transcript is here, and also it made a very simple summary for me, which is busy at conference, needs computer assistance. Not a very funny one. I use it quite often, so I believe one of the things that is different for 2025 is that you can build tons of very simple automations like this, like one-step automation that does the job for you in a very automated way out of the hundreds of things you do today. It's not very fancy. It's like 4-step automation. And I believe these things really, this is like, let's say, the background layer. Okay, it worked. So when I went from engineering to teaching 10 years ago, there's one diagram that actually blew my mind. At how we adults learn. So we adults learn that we have experience. Maybe you will have experience that you come back home and you can't really focus on anything. Maybe you have this 2 or 3 hours left, but you can't really think. That's your experience. And then you have a reflection. What can be your reflection after having this? Your reflection may be, my prefrontal cortex is out of glucose and oxygen. That could be one. But also you could think, I'm miserable. So that reflection will get you to a different knowledge. I will look for different knowledge when I think I'm miserable and different knowledge that I think something's wrong with my prefrontal cortex. And when I read about it or study it, and then I experiment. And then it gives me another experience. It struck me because in 21st century, actually, this diagram dies. First with Google and now with AI. So the reflection part is gone. You just go and ask, what's the knowledge? Give me the knowledge. And you don't want to experiment. Who wants to experiment? I want proven solutions. So I'm in a productivity space. Everybody wants like a technique that works from day one. But actually the true wisdom is, and you know it because many of you have like years and years of experience, and you've been in that cycle for years, and now your wisdom about the thing going on is deep. And so what I love about 2025 is things like this. So how many of you know, let's see if this works. Yeah, so this is Gemini. I don't know if you know the feature that is probably like 4 months old. It will be in Polish, I'm sorry. Learning. Anybody used learning mode? So yeah, learning mode is, normally I can ask a question to AI and it will give me an answer. So it will be knowledge. But this is learning actually provokes you to reflect. I love this. This is a game changer, I believe, and will change the way we learn very soon. It provokes your learning, so it's much deeper. Maybe I'll ask a very stupid question, and I'm surprised and shocked how little people know about their own organism. So I'll ask a very simple question. How insulin, it's hard to affect focus? Anybody knows? How insulin affects focus? Once you understand this simple thing, it will change your diet forever. Let's try. So normally, on Wikipedia or anything, it will give you just an answer. That's it. Hey, let's wait a moment. Oh, that's an insightful question. Thank you. So then you get an answer, and then, hey, to best guide your learning, which aspect you want to explore? And we'll ask you questions, and ask questions, and ask questions. And I really recommend, if you do, that's probably one of the most productive things to do now. If you spend 15 minutes a week discussing with Gemini how different things in your body work, like, do you know what's lymph, for example? Lymph, you have that liquid in your body. It does some things. It's separate from the blood. The blood has a pump, but lymph, what pump lymph has, you know? It's a movement. It's movement, so that's why I also dance, to move my lymph. So maybe let's go back. So that's another thought that I believe is changing, that we're back to true learning. Now you can study your own body, and when you have a problem with focus, you can ask, okay, I have a diagnosed ADHD, but also I believe my sleep is not well, and da-da-da-da-da. And then you can study these things without like clear answer. This is question answer. You can reflect. I love this part. Let's cover that in a minute. And this is super important because every one of you, including me, have a confirmation bias. So if I think that I need another app to task management, not many people have a reflection that actually if you improve your sleep, that could be a most productive thing you do. is the way you sleep. People don't want to hear this. They want to hear that they need another supplement, mushroom coffee in the morning, and then it will fix everything. So I'll try to maybe ping you in some strange directions just to deepen your reflection, because in productivity space, I believe everyone has to find his own and her own style and apps and set of tools that works for them. So, skill of time travel. Now it will be voting. So you probably have 3 sources of your work. One source is unplanned tasks. So like ongoing communication. Hey, can you do this for me? No. Chat or email or something. That's one source. The other source is calendar. So I have things structured. And then the third source is task list. So I can move things, but not beyond the deadline. Now, which is your leader? So raise your hand if most of your work is calendar. You can look around the room and connect people with the same pain. All right, calendar driven. Task list driven people? All right, quite a lot. And communication and planned stuff?
Can I choose both?
3 completely different styles of organization, completely different. If I'm a manager and calendar is my primary tool, then probably I need to have their lunch because I won't eat it. I have to put their focus time and stuff like that. But if my task list is my primary source, it's a completely different set of organizational tools. No book about this. This is surprising. And completely different if actually most of your work is unplanned. Then you have to apply Pareto principle because usually 20% of unplanned work makes 80% of the problem. 3 completely different sets of the way we organize. And as you grow to the managerial role, usually start here and then move here, which is like a disaster for 90% of people because they are not ready. So perspective when you get promoted is like when you're a specialist, the thing that interests you is the now. Today. Tasks finished and go home. That's it. Then you get promoted and you think about projects. Okay, now I have multiple things to manage. And even in your personal life, you juggle probably a couple of projects, also your health. You have relationships and all these balls are in the air. And you have some time to reflect or your weekly one-on-one call with yourself to assess where you are. Maybe you pushed these 3 projects last week, okay, but then it disturbed your private relationships and your rest, and that will be good to actually shift this week more toward that, to have some balance. Then you go to strategy, which is more long-term thinking. It's not like week, it's like 3 months, 12 months, maybe 5 years. Where do we go? What strategy do we have when COVID strikes? And stuff like that. And then the layer 4 would be values. Okay, what people do we hire? What generation? If they really fit what we want to do. Or is this according to my values as well? So now the honest question, you probably have your favorite, where you feel the best, you feel the strongest. Which one is the best for you? You have if you have at least 4 fingers, you can vote. So which one is the strongest for you? One is organization of one day. I love tasks, I love focus, I get stuff done, and I love to end my day having 6 tasks done. Number 2, projects, juggling them. 3, strategy. 4, values. Which is your preferred? You can show on fingers. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And 1. Actually, lots of 3s. That's actually very rare. Now, which one is the weakest one? Now vote again. Which one do you find the hardest? 4, a lot of 4s and 1. Yeah, so usually what happens is that people are drawn toward up or down, and if your favorite is usually 1 or 2 or 3 and 4. And usually 2 people like this create a company, like Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, obsessed with technical details, or Google or any other companies. Usually you're drawn toward more abstract and long-term thinking or to the tiny greedy details of everything that happens. Unfortunately, in private life, we have to do all 4. or have a partner that actually supplements you, because if you are two visionaries, then you talk about visions for a year and nothing gets done. I love comparing this to sailing. I sail a lot, so you have this operational stuff, your sails, the direction where you go, the engine, the stuff like that. Then there's a question, where do we go? What's the course? But then you can ask the value question, like, why do we even sail? Or what crew do I need? Or where's the next stop? So there's a lot of analogies to if you change your time perspective and you time travel. Sometimes it's the now, this 20, 30 minutes of presentation, and sometimes it's like your life perspective, and then you shrink down back to these 5 minutes. So finding balance. Formula One car. Question. 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. We're in Munich, so automotive stuff. You know how fast it gets to from 0 to 100?
2.5 seconds?
1.8. Now another question. From 0 to 100 and then back to 0.
It can be same time.
No.
Against the wall.
No. I mean, on a racetrack. I go from 0 to 100 and then back to 0. Anybody knows? 4 seconds. 4 seconds. Actually, when I look at life of most people, it's like driving an F1 car or Lambo or Porsche, but with no brakes. People with productivity, they want to accelerate. But if you sit in a car and it's Lambo, the first thing you want to know if it has brakes. Because if the brake doesn't work, you're trapped. It's not fun to drive a car, even if it's a really good and fast car, if you don't have brakes. And I find that many people don't have brakes in their life. The productivity is only of going faster, and then you're trapped. So this concept of 4 types of time, so you have your goals. Now you can rate 0 to 10. How satisfied are you with your achieving goals? I have my goal, I go there, I achieve it. It may be 9, maybe 2, depends. If you have 2, then you come to me. Another thing, rest. How do you charge your internal battery? Maybe emotional, maybe physical. How do you do this when you want to recharge yourself? The third thing, relationships. Actually, some people treat relationships as goals as well. You know, you meet with them and they treat you like there's some goal to achieve, not a relationship or bond to form. And fourth thing, dying in 21st century, creative time. No strict goal, just exploring what's possible. Actually, AI is giving this time back to us. It's like you take in an instrument, there is nothing to learn. It's just to explore how the instrument works and what you can do with this. It's just having fun. So a parent comes back home and asks this kid, what are you building? Of course, everything has to have a goal. And the kid says, I'm building. It may be a castle or maybe a rocket. I don't know yet. It doesn't fit our adult brains that things may be built just for fun. So this is a concept. Maybe you have your favorite here, and maybe one needs a bit of improvement. Maybe your rest, the way you recharge your batteries. Especially important that winter is coming. This is how most polls will look in April. I don't know how it's in Germany, but this is how we look in April. And your energy level throughout the year is fluctuating a lot. So actually the question is, what's the level of your long-term battery? Imagine, it's not like your today battery, but long-term. How are you satisfied with your life? If you're waking up, is it more 20? Is it more 80? Is it 90? Now you have 10 fingers. Imagine one finger is 10%. How would you rate this, like long-term battery of your life? How would you rate this? Now, for life. So in phone, you have the battery charge and battery condition. I don't know if you know this. So you can charge your phone to 100, but it's 100 over 50% sometimes, if the battery condition is 50%. So I'm asking about your battery condition. How would you rate this? That will be interesting to find. It's like 70, 100, wow, I get it. So over 1,000 people in my online course one rated this for me, and I took an average. And of course, we had a lesson about this and tools to rate it really well. And you know what's the average level of an average poll taking part in my courses? It's 55%. So maybe the most productive thing is not another app or anything, but to bring it up for, imagine improving it from 55 to 65 or 75. But how you do this? It's not done overnight. It may take you months of changing tweaks here and there, but once you improve that from 55 to 75, you're nearly unstoppable. Another, that's a Polish survey. 44%, you know, what's the number? It's the number of people waking up tired. So every second person wakes up tired. And then they come and they look for another app or set things to organize. It's crazy for me that, you know, the reflection is maybe by the confirmation bias, we're not looking at the right place. So there will be a couple of reflections now, some practical steps, and let's go to Q&A. So what I would recommend after, you know, studying all those people, the things that I really recommend to nearly anybody, just grab one point and maybe let's deep dive into them in a moment. 10 minutes to slow down, experiment. Do you have your favorite, imagine you have 10 minutes between meetings, the meeting was really stressful and now you need to slow down. I could say, change your regulation of your system from sympathetic to parasympathetic. How you do this?
By drinking coffee.
Drinking coffee is a loan. It's a loan. You have to pay it back eventually. Then how you pay it back?
You do it in the evening.
Yeah, so let's talk about it. Experiment, you need to find it. Maybe there's a breathwork exercise, really recommend it. Or cold water, or
Or a cat.
Or a cat. Or it's like, by experimenting, you will have tons of reflections about this. For me, one of the most favorite techniques for me is breath. I learned to breathe again, and it changed my life a couple of years ago. Weekly summary. Anybody does weekly summary regularly, like every week? Wow, okay, there's a couple of you. 15 minutes, not 1 hour, not 2 hours, it's 15 minutes. Stop and maybe elevate your perspective. Ask 3 good questions about the week that just passed. Take 1 reflection and move forward. If you tweak one thing every week, after 50 weeks, you have 50 tweaks. Everything will work out. I'm a big fan of Warren Buffett. You know, he wasn't that much popular 20 years ago. Compounding interest over 30, 40, 50, 60 years. And for 40 years, nobody was interested in Warren Buffett, but now everybody wants to be a Warren Buffett. He says, do the same thing 50 years over and over again. It's just compound interest. Unplanned tasks, calendar tasks, clarity. So clarity in the system. How do I organize myself and how do I organize my job? Long-term battery, actually, that's the more strategic. How do I boost my battery by 10 or 20% in 2026? How to do this? I have some ideas if you want, but you also have your own reflections. This is probably one of the most productive things to do, is like to boost your energy level that you have available every day. But most people don't have time for that. So that's another thing is experiment with prompts for emotions, metaphors, coaching. So till that point, actually the productivity, the core principles are the same. The things I believe changed in 2025 is that you have access 24/7 to coaching I use Claude actually for most of this. We can talk about it in a minute. If you want to work on a strategy level, you can actually now have coach 24/7. So on Tuesday, 4 p.m., I had a nice conversation and I want to continue at Friday, 3 p.m. I just continue where I left. Exactly the same spot, exactly the minute I have time. That was a game changer for me. So I don't have to, schedule a coaching session in a week and then I have 1 hour, but sometimes I get a question that I need to think for a week. What do I do? Now I have this. So if you want some inspirations, ask and look for simple everyday automations that are usually overlooked by many people. Things like, I usually move a lot, and so I made a very simple automation, connected it to this button, and then I don't need to unlock my phone to record what I think, and then it lands in my inbox, so I can process it really quickly. And the successful managers that I deal with usually have built not one big automation that runs their life, but I have like 6, 7 small, tiny automations that help them make 100 small things every day. And focused work blocks. Anybody does that? I hope. And if you don't, experiment with this. A Pomodoro technique will tell you 25 minutes, but experiment 30, 45, 60, 90 minutes. If you can allow yourself, then tons of strange things happen when you start working in focus blocks, especially now. Everybody has ADHD. But once you start working in focus, okay, let's leave that for Q&A. So if you want to stay in touch, you find me on LinkedIn. I'll leave it and then slowly go for Q&A. Treat me as a guy who, for the last 10 years, try to get from people whatever works and then try to put it into some kind of frameworks and ensure it's working. And some things working for one type of people and completely don't work for another type of people. So, yeah, I'm happy to start here and get your questions or comments or reflections.